Hi, my name is Tom, and ever since I was a little kid, I've loved trains. I've seen many awesome trains over the years, but this past weekend, I got to fulfill a childhood dream. I got to see the Big Boy. At over 1 million pounds, this is the world's largest steam locomotive, and we traveled to Philadelphia to get up close and personal with it.
They could do a better job with the sprinkle distribution, but I'll eat it anyway.
A video like this needs to be graced by the presence of Lindsey.
And Duncan.
So we're getting some breakfast really quick, and then we're going to go to the main feature of today's video, the Big Boy. It is the world's largest and most powerful operational steam locomotive, and it's on display here in Philadelphia. And I was saying earlier, this has been a childhood dream of mine. Let me explain a little bit. So when I was a kid, YouTube didn't exist. So I learned about trains from DVDs and books. Now my school library had maybe 10 books about trains, and they almost all featured the Big Boy. And so my whole life I've been looking at pictures of this train. I've never seen it in person because it usually stays out west, but because of America's 250th, it's finally come to the eastern side of the country for the first time since the 1940s, and that is something I cannot miss. Let me just say that sandwich was very, very good. Anyway, the Big Boy was on display near Philadelphia's Navy Yard, so we had to take the B1, also known as the Broad Street line. We took it all the way down to its final stop of NRG, and from there we walked. Now there is bus service that would get you closer to the Big Boy, but it was so infrequent. Had we waited for it, we would have waited longer than the time it took us to walk there, see the train, wait in line for merch, and walk back. All right, so we've made it to NRG station on the Broad Street line, getting closer and completing a side quest. Now I've been on the entire Broad Street line, because up until today I had only been on parts of it.
You getting excited?
Yeah, very excited. It's like surreal that we're almost there. We're walking in the right direction, I know that much, but how far it is, I don't know.
We shall see.
I can see it, we're getting closer, but from a distance it actually still looks kind of small. I'm really looking forward to standing right next to it. The walk to the train was quite long, but for people who couldn't walk, staff was driving golf carts as shuttles between the train and the parking lot. However, by the time we left the event, all the shuttles were broken down. So this is my first time seeing the Big Boy in person, and I was just impressed at the sheer size of it. Like, this is the kind of thing you have to see in person to understand just how big it is. So behind me is the Big Boy. Now Big Boy isn't the name of just this locomotive, it's the name of the class of locomotive. Some of these were 1.1 million pounds, some were 1.2 million pounds, and after they restored this train in 2019, it once again became the world's largest operational steam locomotive. They were used to move trains on steep gradients in Utah and Wyoming. Hey Lindsey, The wheels are taller than you.
I know. I'm short, but...
In total, 25 Big Boys were built at the American Locomotive Company in Schenectady, New York. They were assembled in 1941 and 1944, and then sent out west. 4014 was built in 1941. And its journey here to Philadelphia marks the first time that a Big Boy has been on the eastern side of the United States in over 80 years. The Big Boys ran pretty much exclusively in Wyoming and Utah. Between Ogden and Green River, the gradients across the Wasatch Range were too steep for Union Pacific's existing steam locomotives to independently haul trains across. So what they did is they took the design of one of their existing locomotives, called the Challenger, and they made different parts of it bigger and stronger so they could haul heavy trains across the range by themselves. This class of locomotives was expected to be called the Wasatch. But right before delivery, one of the workers at the factory wrote the words Big Boy on the front in chalk. The name stuck, and the rest is history. The
The big boys were built in a 4-8-8-4 configuration. That means they have 4 guiding wheels up front, 2 sets of 8 driving wheels in the middle, and then 4 trailing wheels again in the back. The locomotive itself weighs over 700,000 pounds, while the tender behind it weighs over 400,000 pounds. They are 85 feet and 47 feet long respectively. Altogether, that's a steam engine weighing over 1.2 million pounds at 132 feet long. That is heavier than a Boeing 747. It also makes it the largest operational steam locomotive in the world. When they were in service, the big boys had a top speed of 80 miles per hour. The big boys entered service right on the brink of American involvement in World War II, so they were immediately put to good use hauling materials for the war. They were powered by coal from mines that Union Pacific themselves owned in Wyoming. With railroads nationwide shifting over to diesel locomotives after the war, UP found themselves using the big boys less and less. They ran on shorter routes and then only a few times a year, and at the end, they just served as backups. The last revenue run for a big boy was in 1959, and they were all officially retired in 1962. Of the 25 built, 8 were preserved and sent to museums. 4014 was moved to Pomona, California. That's where it stayed on static display for decades. Until 2013. That's when Union Pacific announced that they were bringing back 4014 and fixing it up to make it operational again. I guess they figured that a big choo-choo train would draw big crowds. I mean, look around, they were certainly right about that.
Please don't crowd the rope. That way. Whoa.
It was brought over from Pomona to Cheyenne, Wyoming. It sat there for a few years, and then the conversion began. It was completely taken apart, each part fixed individually, and in some cases, brand new parts were made. They made 2 really interesting modifications to 4014. First of all, it no longer uses coal. Instead, it burns number 5 fuel oil. Second, it actually has positive train control installed. PTC is an automatic train protection system that needs computers to run. The computers are located in the tender, powered by a dynamo. 4014's rebuild was completed, and it ran on its own power for the first time in 2019, claiming its title as the world's largest operational steam locomotive. That was just in time for the celebration of the 150th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad.
Now there are several diesel locomotives in the consist as well. We've got Union Pacific 1616, which commemorates Abraham Lincoln, and then Norfolk Southern number 1776, followed by UP 1776. Now why is there a Norfolk Southern locomotive here? Well, you've probably already heard UP and NS are trying to merge. And so not only is this tour celebrating the country's 250th anniversary, it's also a please let us merge tour.
Union Pacific wants to buy Norfolk Southern for an estimated $85 billion. This would create a true transcontinental railroad, putting them at a significant advantage over the other railroads. Such a merger would require federal approval, which seems more likely with this administration than perhaps the previous ones, as they have approved similar huge mergers in other sectors. Now, you're hearing my thoughts throughout the video, but what did Lindsey think of the big boy?
So I thought the big boy was pretty awesome. It was very crowded. I wish we could have gotten a little bit closer, but it was really cool to be able to see all the hard work put into it and see all the really interesting trains behind it that were holding all necessary supplies and water. Wish it wasn't so hot, but thanks to the heat wave, we roasted our butts off. And it was really cool to see people interested in trains. I really hope people will take this as an opportunity to care more about passenger rail. Obviously, the big boy, different class of locomotive and did different things, but I do think the enthusiasm people have for these trains needs to carry over to Amtrak, local transit, things like that. And I hope that these people can get involved in their local communities. Yeah, I'm really glad that we went.
So we just waited in a little bit of a line to get the free handout. So we got a Norfolk Southern tote bag, bandana, stickers. Unfortunately, they ran out of hats, which I was kind of sad about, but now we're just gonna check out the official merch store. They told us by the time we would get to the register, they'd be out of everything. So time to take more pictures of the big boy.
And after that, it was time to head out and get some lunch.
All right, it is Monday, July 6th. I'm back in Center City, Philadelphia, because the big boy is leaving Philly today, going towards King of Prussia, then back to Chicago and Wyoming. And getting shots of it stationary was really cool, but I really want to film it moving. I did not bring rain gear, so it's just me and a few hundred very brave rail fans out here, most of whom were smart enough to bring umbrellas.
Honestly though, shout out to Chris and Ben for letting me use their umbrella for a little bit, and to Josh for watching my camera. And then the rain got even worse, but at this point I had already kind of accepted that I was gonna get soaked today.
It's funny, there are these people in the building across from me working out, and like in a few minutes they're just gonna see a giant steam train roll through. They have no idea.
Hearing that first whistle sent a huge chill down my spine, and I almost felt myself feeling grateful for the crappy weather, because the dark skies and the heavy rain made the locomotive feel even bigger and more imposing, if that makes sense. I also left a camera up on the bridge. Let's look at that footage. Just a warning that from this point until the end of the video, the audio will not be the same quality as earlier, and you can thank the rain for that. I had said earlier in the video that Big Boy coming all the way out here was the first time that any of these locomotives had made it to this part of the country since they were built in the 1940s. 4014's 2026 tour has been going on for several months. All the way back in March, it left Cheyenne, Wyoming towards Sacramento, California. And then after it returned to Cheyenne, in May it began its journey east. It stopped in Omaha, outside of Chicago, Buffalo, Scranton, and Philly. It's still not done either. After Philadelphia, it went to Altoona, home of the famous Horseshoe Curve, and it still has Fostoria, Ohio and St. Louis, Missouri left to serve before it will finally arrive home in Cheyenne on July 29th. At the event yesterday, I briefly spoke to some of the crew who were walking around. They told me that they had been with the train since it started on its journey, and they would finish out the tour with it too. Wow, what a job.
Wow, that was worth every second in this miserable rain. Every second in the heat yesterday. My eardrums almost shattered when that whistle blew, and now I'm walking through a strike. I'm going to go find a trolley station and then go to the SEPTA store because I need to buy a new shirt. SEPTA Transit Store and the SEPTA Transit Museum are located right on Market Street, and they have a lot of really cool things. Plus, they're open year-round, so I might even have to say they're slightly better than DC's Metro store. Right, I went to the store. I have my new outfit. This shirt is actually kind of epic. I got new socks as well and a towel. I feel good to go again. So the sun's out. That was such a cool experience, and now because the regional I was going to take back to DC got canceled, I got a free upgrade to the NextGen Acela. I think that's a really cool way to end this video. Thank you so much for watching today. Today I got to fulfill a childhood dream of mine, and I'm so grateful. And I'm very happy to have all of you along today. You guys mean a lot to me, and I cannot believe I get to do what I do. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Trains Are Awesome, and we'll see you next time.